Sledgehammer Horror Guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by the very busy writer and director, Mitch Francis. Mitch, how you doing today, man?
I'm well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, anytime, man. I'm very excited. Everybody that knows me knows my second favorite horror movie franchise of all time is the Child's Play franchise. So, Mitch has upcoming Charles, a Chucky Child's Play fan film. What can you tell us about that without being too spoilery?
Well, Charles is a reimagining of Chucky. It brings it back to it. It brings it back to its roots, where it started as a horror. It's not as comedy driven or anything like that. And I was brought onto this project by Tony Biz, who started this and brought us on to help make it. I actually wasn't a Chucky fan, so I thought it would be kind of cool to bring a whole new aspect of horror into this. And then everyone else that worked on the project were huge Chucky fans. So they were able to keep some of my ideas in line where it makes sense or that would be kind of cool. And then
Sure.
they brought their ideas of, the knowledge that they know of the Chucky franchise. So it's fresh, it's new, it's just a whole revamp.
I'm very excited, man. I don't want to get too spoilery, but everybody that knows me knows I do a lot of research before I start doing this. And I couldn't help but notice when I was doing some research about Charles, Eddie Caputo is in the film. You guys are bringing back Eddie Caputo. Is that something you could talk about at all or no?
I could talk a little bit. He's in the trailer. So yes, he is in it. And yeah, we expand a little bit on some of the things with that. I think we did it justice.
Good.
So
When I see him in the trailer, you guys can check the trailer out down here. Make sure you're following Mitch. I got all his links down here in the description. Show him some love. Like I said, man, and I've said this on many episodes of this podcast, and I mean it with all my heart. I am a bigger fan of the fan-made films than I am the Hollywood films at this point. You guys are doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it for the love of the franchise. Maybe you didn't love Chucky that much, but man, you're doing it not to make money, but to reimagine it and make it your own. And that's something that we can all respect and appreciate. You're not doing it for dollar signs. You're doing it for your love of horror, your love of these franchises. So I'm a huge fan of the fan-made films, and it's such an honor for me to be able to talk to you about this.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't make any money. We and a lot of the money has come out of our own pockets. So all of it gets used to the film. And I want it to be, even though I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, I still wanted to respect it and maybe make it something that I would have been a fan of it when I first saw it or something like that. And all right, yeah. So I was very inspired by The Haunting of Hill House, like my favorite piece of horror movie, TV show, whatever you want to call it. The Conjuring, things like that have their little bit of footprints in this movie.
Sure. That's awesome, man, to hear something like that, because I was a huge fan of The Haunting of Hill House. I did also like The Bly Manor. I like that one. I thought Hill House was a little better, but
yeah, I agree.
There was a lot of elements I liked about both. The Conjuring franchise, I absolutely adore that franchise. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the best franchises to come out in the last, probably 20 years. I think that they really knocked it out of the park in the Conjuring franchise and all the different ways they go with that. So to have that coming into with Child, and I'm a bit older than you, so maybe that's why Child's Play really strikes a nerve with me, why it meant so much to me growing up. It's one of those things that I had a good guy doll when I was a little kid. Not the same one as Chucky, but I had an actual little good guy doll. Yeah. And Chucky I grew up in a video store, and Chucky was one of those films that, it was scary enough to scare you, but it was also fun enough for a kid like me to be able to stay in tune with.
Yeah, I never watched it growing up. I saw my first one a couple years ago. So, yeah. And one of my best friends, who's also the composer and producer on this film, Mike Gibanti, is the one who showed it to me. And he's the one who also helped get me on this project and stuff. So he's the one that kind of introduced me to it and kind of educates me, we'll say. And I've learned a lot more, and I've watched a lot more of the movies to help prepare for making this. But it's been a ride.
Oh, yeah. See, and growing up, I've always been a huge fan of Child's Play 3. That's always been my favorite of the franchise, and I will defend that movie to the death. But you've also been involved in other projects, too. Who Goes There, Psycho, Deep Breaths. So this isn't your first rodeo. So Are these films that people can watch online, or are these VOD? Are they available for purchase?
No, they're all online. This is Charles is my first feature. A lot of those other ones were just shorts and things that I was practicing. Psycho is a music video that is very story driven, and that won an award this year. And Deep Breaths was my first short film. That's over 4 years old now. So that was one of my first bigger short films. And then Who Goes There was something I did when I was born in quarantine, back in April or May. And it's just me and my wife. Uh, we just made that because I was bored and wanted to make something, and it was fun. So it's just a way to keep sharp, keep practicing different things.
Sure. And I do have those links down here in the description as well, guys. So make sure you're checking that out. Like you said, we were in quarantine, our brains were not. So everything was still working. I'm very excited for you guys to check this stuff out. We talked a little bit about the future, what you got going on. We talked about what you're doing right now, but now I want to take it back to the past, man. I want to talk about where horror started for you. And your first horror movie was
Paranormal Activity. Yes.
Paranormal Activity. A movie that ended up breaking records when it came out. The record held by Blair Witch for gross income of a horror movie compared on what they took to film it and what they brought in. Paranormal Activity broke that record, and if I'm not mistaken, there was one time in the 90s I was wrong, so it could happen again, but I'm pretty sure that this still holds the record for what they had for budget against what they brought in. So great movie, man. Great movie. How old were you the first time you had seen Paranormal Activity?
I saw it in theaters. I want to say I was 15. So that was my first horror movie to go see in the theaters, to actually just go see, not something that was just on TV when I was like in the living room or something. So
Sure.
yeah, I want to say I was 15, a sophomore in high school. And I saw it at the theaters one weekend.
And it's such a slow burn too, man.
That movie messed me up for a night or two. I was not expecting it. It felt so real. And I went with a couple buddies, and we were like, yeah, we're not going to sleep tonight, so you guys just want to hang out for the rest of the night. And the night got weirder because we got a ride home, and then like little things like there was we were in a neighborhood, and a random cow was like in the middle of the street, and just like we were like, this is weird. This is weird. Yeah, we were just that for the next 2 nights or so. I was just thinking I was going to get dragged out of my bed by this demon or something.
And it's funny because horror movies have a way of doing that. They have a way of we can notice the littlest things and tie them into what we had just watched and try to make it so it's more realistic to us. Yeah. And I think that's what's more about horror that drives us than any other genre. Because after you watch a horror movie, it's always fun to find those little things to tweak your anxiety a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were just talking about it a little bit, but which scene from Paranormal Activity affected you the most?
It was the scene where Kate gets dragged out of her bed by the demon. You see the blanket start to move a little bit, and then just grabs her by the leg and drags her out. And she wakes up halfway down the hallway almost, or out of the room. And then the door slams on Mika. I want to say his name. It slams on him. And yeah, she's just being dragged to who knows where. And that, like, because everything was so slow, the doors moving, footsteps, little that, and then that happened. I was like, oh my gosh, it just felt so real, because there's no score. It was a $15,000 budget. They made it look so real and grounded that it resonated with you hard, that this could be my house.
Yeah. And found footage has a way of doing that too. It brings that realism to it. And I'm a big fan of found footage films if they're done right. There are some found footage films that, again, you'll never hear me bash anybody for anything. If you're making art, good for you. It may not be for me, but good for you.
Yeah.
And Paranormal Activity is one of the ones that I grew to respect the more I watched it. I didn't watch the first Paranormal Activity until probably 3 came out. I was like, okay, well, they're still building on this, so they got to be doing something right. I think in my mind it was like, oh, the Blair Witch is where it's at. I'm not watching Paranormal Activity. It's Blair Witch. Yeah. And I actually, I finally went in and I watched it. And I was like, wow, they did this well. And funny enough, I actually seen A Haunted House, the Marlon Wayans parody, before I had seen Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, that was
fun. It's just funny how those guys are geniuses, man. And that is such a great parody. And that's the most sincere form of flattery. You know you're doing something right if someone wants to parody your work. So kudos to you, Paranormal Activity, and kudos to you, Marlon Wayans. I love all of you. So when you think about Paranormal Activity, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
That shot of every night, the blue night vision, the door slamming, just like that frame of them in bed and the door open down the hallway.
Yeah. It's so the end of the bed, just sitting there watching them as they sleep and what the things that are happening.
Yeah.
So we talked about Paranormal Activity. Now, right here, I have all 6 movies, and I don't know if they have more than that or not. I think 6 is still where they're at. Which one is your favorite of the 6? Have you seen all 6?
I have not. I've seen the first 2. I want to say I've seen the third one as well. I like the first 2. The third one, I don't know. I kind of just got the feeling it was overstaying its welcome a little bit. After, I don't know. Yeah, the first one is just so simple that, and the way it affected me when I watched it. And then I saw the second one, and that one was just as good. And they added, a few more cameras, some movement. So I'd say the first 2 I really like. And then I saw the third one. It was all right, but I didn't really care to keep going with it.
Right.
I kind of like
to be honest with you, my favorite actually is part 5, the marked ones. If you get the chance to watch it, I think they did that one really well, very well.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't keep up with them, and I just kept seeing like they kept coming out. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're still going with this. They're it's not my favorite horror movie franchise, but it still is a unique one that I've seen, and I still think it is pretty scary.
Well, that's a perfect segue because we talked about your first horror movie, but now I'm going to go scream on you. What's your favorite scary movie? What is your favorite horror movie?
I'm gonna throw you a little bit of curveball. I know it's not a movie, but The Haunting of Hill House. Like
you gotta stay with it, huh?
It's a 10-hour movie to me. That is a masterpiece in my in my opinion. I think it's perfectly done.
Anybody
drama.
that has seen that and tells you that the bent neck lady didn't scare the shit out of them is a liar.
Yes. You can't say that you go up to get a drink of water in the middle of the night and you don't think that woman's just standing in your doorway looking at you. Yeah.
And the twists and turns that takes you on, man, because if you guys haven't seen The Haunting of Hill House, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to get into what these twists and turns are, but my gosh, it's on Netflix, and
I'll watch it.
It will scare you. It will make you cry. You watch people that battle addiction. You watch people that have gone through loss and the different stages of loss and mourning. And there's just so much wrapped up in it. It's not just I'm going to jump and make you scared. There's such a beautiful story that goes with it. And it's all about loss and love. And there's so much positive and negative that come together. And the family is so easy to root for. So I would strongly recommend Haunting a Hill House. It's something I'm a huge fan of. As is Mitch, obviously, just chose it as his favorite, which I'm totally fine with. All levels of horror media are great to me. And that's one movie or I'll call it a movie with it. It's one series that there was no way. Haunting of Bly Manor is great. It is great. I enjoyed it very much. But you're not going to ever be able to top Hill House to me, I think, because of the impact that it had and the twists and turns that you go throughout this, and what the house goes through and the people in the house go through, and how you see rooms from different perspective. The writing is perfect. The cinematography is perfect, has a great score. So Haunting a Hill House, make sure you guys check that out. It's so amazing. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Now, my friend, I always end these with the same question. We go with a skull count. We're going back to Paranormal Activity. 0 skulls being the worst, 5 being the best. You can use half and quarter skulls. What is your ranking of Paranormal Activity?
Oh, I'd say a 4. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
I've never given anything a 5 ranking, man, so I definitely respect it, man.
It's not perfect, but it's really good. And I think with the experience I had with it, it did its job.
And that's what people don't understand, where I could rank something at a 4.5, you rank it at a 2. It's also not just about what the film is, but what we went through the first time we had seen that film and the people that were with us and the experiences that we had. A movie that I give a 4.25 ranking that everybody else is like, what is Dead Silence? The puppet movie from the guys that did Saw. I think that movie's absolutely brilliant, and nobody agrees with me on it. They're all like, it was just okay, but I think it's amazing. Maybe it's because of the time that I had with my wife as we were watching that movie. So that's another movie I will defend till the end of the world, man.
I know a lot of people that really like that movie.
Yeah, it's one that I will defend till the end of the world, man. I love that movie so much. So, guys, I do want to remind you, make sure that you're checking the stuff out down in the description. These guys are working their asses off. Any updates that I get on Charles, I will let you guys know, because I know you guys are just as excited as I am about this. And if you don't want to wait for me, you can follow it down here on Instagram, so you can get the updates right away. Mitch, thank you so much for joining me, man. Don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Right. Everybody else, keep talking horror. Stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks.